Who's your least favorite team?
Kansas.
Thank you. Now I can do the push on your face now. Well, in the edit, I'm just gonna go right up to your face.
I'm not tour material. And I'm perfectly okay admitting that.
Okay.
Oh,
that's
Come on
fine.
now.
I am perfectly content playing member guests and charity scrambles the rest of my life out of school.
No way they win this tournament.
Yeah.
And he hits it like we both, I think, like jaw hit the floor.
I said, yep.
Easy to see who the ringer is.
Yeah. Hold on.
Comparatively to my dad. Sorry.
They have breakfast tacos at Quick Trip.
I know. I was also on the same.
So that's why I'm terrible at golf, because my golf club.
Yeah.
That's
sports was our fraternity.
Sports was our fraternity.
Really?
I
The
love
8-10
that.
fraternity.
Sports
8-10
media.
fraternity.
Yeah.
We should make like recruitment shirts.
Rush 8-10.
Rush
Yeah,
8-10.
for
Yeah.
sure. Fall formal recruits. Welcome back to the Next Gen podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed our last episode with the very first interview we did. Today we have another close friend that we're going to interview.
Wait, redo it. I had my headphones in. That's funny. All right.
Bruh.
Redo it. Sorry.
Okay.
Should we just do it natural? Alex, how was your day? Should we
How
just
was your day, Easton?
Yeah. How was your week? What'd you do?
We're not going to like say welcome back.
No, we already did it.
Okay.
It's fine. Just reload it. Never mind. Just reload it.
We know what we're doing, obviously. Welcome back to the Next Gen podcast. Today, Easton and I are back with another interview. Hopefully you enjoyed Jack Bezdex.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we are going to be here with an intern, actually. So someone that we got to know this summer. Victor is one of our favorite interns. I think the first one that we got to know pretty well.
Right.
So figured said, hey, come on, let's talk about the summer. Let's talk about your college experience. And that's where we are now. But before we get into that, Easton and I wanted to go over our weeks a little bit, tell you what we've been doing at the station, everything like that. So this week I was out of office. So I didn't do much.
It was a little quiet, not gonna lie. I was like, where's Alex? She's out of town.
I visited Arizona. I got to go to a Diamondbacks game. I got to get a little tan in.
The weather was
my gosh, it was so hot. I was kind of dying, not gonna lie, but it's like a dry heat, so it's very different.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy, but then jumped back into the office, got home like 1 a.m. on Tuesday night. Wednesday morning back at the office. I was very tired. We had a long day getting ready for an event.
Yeah. It's been a fun week so far. I learned how to make pickles. Actually, learned how to make pickles. So I got some cucumbers, chopped them up, put some dill in there, some vinegar, and I made pickles. That's what I did.
I'm not a pickle person.
I am.
So.
And my dad actually he was like, text me how to do it, and it's definitely not how he does it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's usually how it goes when you cook a meal. It's like you want it to look like that, but then when you are done with it, it doesn't look the same.
Right. Well, I feel like that's enough about us for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Let's bring Vito in.
All right. Well, welcome, Vito.
What's up, guys?
Welcome.
What's going on?
Than's for coming in. We've missed you the past week or so.
I know it's been weird. No 4:15 wake ups this week. That was strange.
So Vito was our morning show intern, which meant that he was here from 6 to 10 every day with Steven St. John, learning all of that. So how exactly did you get into?
Before we start, Vito, could you adjust your camera?
Yeah.
It's just there's just a little bit of headroom, and all right, now you can. Yeah. So the morning show. What's up with that?
Yeah. So my dad actually went to high school with Steven St. John.
Yeah.
And Steven is a very close friend of my extended family's and my cousin Frank, specifically of Shemeka's Italian sausage.
That.
So they've had their
the best sausage,
the best
sausage,
far and away, unrivaled. So they've known each other for a long time, and but actually, what really helped me get in here was another friend that I have up at school. Works really closely with the station.
I didn't know this.
And putting one of their golf tournaments together every summer.
Who?
And so it's the Balls charity tournament.
Oh,
so I got a friend whose dad is the chairman of that committee. And so that's actually what really accelerated the process of me getting in here. And
Awesome.
so once I was able to do that, I was able to go through the application process and just kind of used all of my connections
Yeah.
collectively to get
I
in
didn't know you were like connected to the Balls charity golf tournament. I actually worked that with Nate, actually. So it was during the morning show. You would have been sitting here in the office, and I guess I was out there with Nate. You should have come with.
I know I should have. I should have brought my golf clubs.
You
So
should
that
have.
actually did
Yeah.
happen this summer too.
I know when you pulled out your golf clubs at the 810 event,
So
I was
awesome.
laughing.
Yeah, we're in a golf cart and we're delivering drinks to all the players, and then I'm like, "Is that Vito with his driver on the tee box?" And you squared one up. I'm not gonna lie, you squared it up.
Well, I
You have some
remember
experience. You have some
a little
experience.
bit. Before we left, I said I'm bringing my golf clubs. I'm
As you
gonna
should.
need them. All right,
Mhm.
I'm gonna have them even if I don't need them.
Right.
And
I think we all
that's
brought
what
ours that
happened.
day.
Yeah.
We were all hoping.
Hey, I got my
maybe we
one
can
shot
golf.
in.
Yeah, and you
I might have dunked one of Vito's balls right into the water.
what? So what happened with that? So go into that situation.
Like,
That
how
was-
did I end up?
no, like
there,
so
or-
no, that sort of like Alex, asked to borrow a golf ball.
Yeah,
and-
we just drove up and I said, "That's Vito. I want to take a swing." He'll
Oh,
let me use
yeah.
his clubs.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, how did you end up golfing instead of working the event with the other interns? Because they were all a little jealous, I think so.
Well, one, it helps to have a set of golf clubs.
Mhm.
yeah,
for
one. Yeah, for real.
But I remember Chad Corey I was out there with Fanboy. We were
Mhm.
on the 5th or 6th hole, and they were just like, "Yeah, just chat members up, members of the tournament as they come by, and make sure that they have drinks and make sure that they're taken care of." And then Chad told me, he said, "You're the golfer. Why don't you offer to hit for him or something like that?" I was
Right.
like, "Sure, I might as well."
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for a couple groups, and then there's like the joke of like, "Hey, you want to join our group?" And it's have that one liner, and they all
Mhm.
just say that and
Yep.
Right.
whatever, and it's funny. And then Nate's group comes up and says it, and he's like, "You want to come play for us?" And I said, "Yeah." That's very funny. He goes, "No, I'm serious. I have to leave."
Mhm.
So like,
How'd you play?
come play for us. I held my own. It's like it's nerve wracking though, because these are.
Why? You should be used to
I
like,
get
a little
more nervous
pressure.
for scrambles sometimes
Why?
than for actual tournaments
Because
because
they're all
people like
yeah.
think you're like the ringer. It's like, oh, we're gonna
But-
win
and-
now.
Okay, I guess so.
Vito is for sure the ringer, especially at that Royals event that we had. That was our first impression.
I think that was my first impression of you, at least that I remember. Like I know you were at the Chiefs thing, but that was when I was like, "This is me getting to know Vito."
Yeah, it comes in with 3 pairs of
Yeah.
shorts, and we're like, "Man, Vito, we don't need pants. It's gonna be hot. It's
Mhm.
gonna be hot." So he wore those. You wore those. How would you
Yeah,
describe?
I came
those
from
pants?
the station, so I was in my pants, and it was
Yeah.
like 115 that day.
It was the
something like
hottest
that.
day of the year.
I wore
think.
those checkered loudmouth
Mhm,
royal
right.
I
shorts.
liked them.
And ate some Schloskis.
Yeah. We'll have to find a picture of that day. I'm sure
right.
Gabe has one.
Oh, 100%. I don't sweat. And that day I sweat through my shirt, my shorts, everything.
Mhm.
I felt so gross.
Right.
But it was a good game though. It was a lot of fun.
It was. We got there early. We set up. We had to move stuff about 4 different times. I
Mhm.
mean, how did you get roped into that? I mean, like obviously we both
Mhm.
knew we were gonna work it, but I didn't
I
know until the
offered
day
to help.
before. Really?
Mhm.
Yeah, I
You
just
said, "I'll be at
one.
the station," and then
Well, that was like my second week, so I'm like,
Right.
anytime I can offer extra help, I think that'd be a good idea.
Mhm.
And on top of that, I'm like, I'll probably get a free ticket to a Royals game.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So
exactly.
this seems like a pretty good deal to me.
Mhm.
So I said to Steven, I said, if you guys need any help on that Thursday and you guys are going to be out there tailgating, just let me know. And he
Mhm.
said, yeah, we'll find something there for you and talk to Gabe. And so that's what I did.
great
And,
seats though. And
great
seats.
seats,
It was fun,
right in
yeah.
the sun.
Right.
But
Had a good hot dog beforehand.
Mhm.
yeah, no, it was a good time. And like I said, that was the first time I really actually got to talk to you guys.
What were your
At length.
other fun things you got to do to stay involved this summer? Like events or anything like that?
Right.
Or just the day-to-day?
Well, the golf tournament was one,
Mhm.
and that was a really good one. The events are fun because you have a little bit more freedom,
Right.
and you never know what you're going to be doing. It's unpredictable, and so that's really cool. And it's really just making sure that everybody knows that you're willing to help,
Mhm.
making yourself as available as possible. So whether it's offering up yourself for different shifts outside of your own on the
Right.
morning show or offering yourself up for different events that maybe not all the interns are going to be at. I feel like that kind of helps you to stand out. And then the other thing too was that this really engaged me, especially my time here, was getting that radio show planned.
I was
Right.
gonna
I spent a
say,
lot of
Let's
time
go
in
into
the
that.
studio.
The intern
killed
show,
that.
that was awesome. You
Mhm.
guys did
Thank you.
great.
That was a lot of fun. It was
Yeah.
stressful, but
Oh yeah, you're telling me.
it
That
was
that was
I don't think from like just sitting there and watching you, you didn't look stressed at all. Like you
Mm-mm.
were funny.
you, Blake,
You
and
were on
you
it.
or Fanboy.
Mhm.
Fanboy and you guys were a great like trio. Little
We need
trio
to
in
explain
there.
the nicknames. So tell the Vito story. When we say intern
Yeah.
Vito,
yeah.
where did that come from?
So Vito is actually a nickname that was given to me by my parents.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh,
And
so we just said we'll take it.
pretty much I put it out over the air and Steven claimed it.
That's
So
funny.
Steven and Jake decided that that was theirs now.
Mhm.
But that's funny because that nickname has just always been kind of specific to them.
Right.
And
Yeah.
outside of my house, I really don't get called that very much outside of my family.
Right.
And so I just kind of mentioned that on the air that
Oh, I
day.
like that.
And
Mhm.
Steven and Jake really thought they liked it. They liked the Sopranos reference.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that
Mhm.
was enough for them to decide that they had claimed that one for them.
And all of a sudden, all summer, you're just Vito everywhere now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't see you as Victor. I see you as Vito
I know,
now.
same.
I see you as
I know.
Vito now.
I was going back and listening to my first shift here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Steven goes, "We have a new intern, Victor the intern," and I just remember thinking that sounds so weird.
That's
I haven't been called
Victor.
Victor in that station since I started. And so
Right.
that was so funny, but that is how I ended up with the nickname Vito.
Sort of like the despicable me, isn't that right? The Victor.
Vector?
Vector. Oh, it's Vector.
I
got-
thought it was
I didn't know where
Victor.
you were going with
I
that.
thought it was Victor. Sorry.
We should have gone with Vector. That would have been funny too.
Yeah.
But
I get a lot of Vector too.
really,
But yeah, go into a little bit more about that intern show and how
Your planning process
Yeah,
and
the
all
planning
that.
process and how you felt on air and sort of your guys' dynamic as well.
Right. So the really cool part and the really scary part about that is that you build it entirely from the ground up.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So you're given your shifts, your dates, and your times, and the rest of it is completely up to you.
Right.
So that's when you really have to go seek everyone out at the station, So like I talked to Todd a lot on how to successfully conduct interviews, and I got show rundowns from Steven and Jake.
Perfect.
And I met up with UU and Fanboy, and we would have meetings on what we thought we could talk about, what some of our segments would be. We had a shared Google Doc. And so over time, you just kind of start figuring out how the pieces of the puzzle start to fit together.
Mhm.
And so whether that's interviews or we all had a running list of show segments that we had going on. And so we were able to pick and choose from that. And so the longer it goes on, you just start to figure out what do we want our interviews to look like? What segments do we want to choose? And it all just kind of comes together and we put that final show rundown
Mhm.
together. And when you're meeting with these guys as often as you do, the really cool part is you sort of start to build that camaraderie right there. So then
Right.
when you go to the air, it's all just kind of natural. And I
Mhm.
felt like we all really did a good job of that
Yeah.
because I was really nervous we were all going to be super rigid and not willing to go off script and not willing to relax. But I feel like all three of us really did a good job of that.
I
And
think you
so,
guys did a really good job. And like, I was only there for the second night, but when like, you and Easton kind of had your back and forth kind of, poking fun at each other. That was my favorite night of the
Right.
favorite part of the whole show. And it was like, it wasn't necessarily about sports. It was just
Mhm.
like, and
Yeah.
I think that's, I've said 100 times, my favorite thing that I've gotten from this place is the relationships I've built
Mhm.
and, the friendships. And I'm still close with my interns from last summer that we all
So
met and everything.
So where does this go from here? Like, are you wanting to sort of further your career in journalism, and how are you going to do that sort of thing?
yeah, I think so,
Mhm.
and that's one of the way I like to describe it to people is it's funny because, like I'm somebody who really likes to be structured and know what's coming next and know what my path is. And I like for that to be clear. And sports broadcast journalism just goes completely against the grain on all of that because you don't ever know where the work
Right.
is going to be. You don't always know what your hours are going to be.
Right.
But I had so much fun, especially planning that radio show. And every time I get to do some work like that, whether it's play by play or doing that show or interning here, I start to get the sense that you know, being a student and trying to learn it at the same time is tough, but I'm like, if I could make that my full-time
Right.
job, I'd be really excited to see what kind of progress I could make. And so while it's kind of unpredictable and, a little bit intimidating, it's I really just try to focus on how much fun I had, planning that radio show and how much fun it is to me to go do a play-by-play broadcast or, it's like you get paid to go watch games
Right.
and
Right.
talk about games, and I just think that's so awesome. And so I think I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't try to pursue it further when I
Right.
get out of school.
So you're at William Jewell now. What has been your
Before we go into that, I have something else to add. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I think my
Call
favorite
me
sorry.
off.
So sorry. But I think my favorite part of that intern show was after when we figured out that we played youth baseball together.
Yeah,
as
I
kids.
forgot about that.
Yeah, that I was like, okay, he's from up north, so I might know him. He knew some of the people I knew from up north. And then he's like, "Did you play for the Royals and 7U?" And I'm like, "No shot." And so he's like, "I was on that team." So I had my mom pull up the picture and like I see the picture and like he's literally in the bottom corner of the picture. Little Victor, little intern Vito in the corner. And I did not know that. And I can't believe you told me that like almost the week that you were going to be done with your internship. So that is hilarious.
810 just bringing people together left and right.
Yeah, exactly. I need to put up that picture on
Northland
the screen. I'm
Royals.
going to put it up like right now
Yeah.
or something when I edit this. So I think it's so funny, that picture.
Well, yeah, and I kind of put the pieces together
Mhm.
kind of the same time you did because I remember being the youngest on that team.
Right,
Because
yeah.
everyone on that team was a year older than I was. And I remember thinking, well, I did play Little League with a guy named Easton, and this guy is a year older than I am. And he had mentioned a couple of names that I remembered playing Little League with. And then it was my dad who put the pieces together because our dads played.
Right.
I think Pop
crazy.
Warner
football. Yeah.
with one another.
That's crazy.
And so he goes, "Yeah, you actually played Little League with him." And I remember thinking, okay, so I was right. So that's who it is.
Yeah,
and then I couldn't wait to share that news with you the next time I saw you.
Oh yeah, and you had if you revealed that during the intern show,
that would have been so cute.
That would have been crazy, but that would have been so funny. That would have been so funny. But go ahead about the William Jewell golf thing if you would like to. If you would like to.
If I would like to, now I can cut in. Thanks.
Yeah.
No. What have you been doing at Jewell to further your, athletic as well as academic career, trying to get into sports broadcast? What are you doing there? I know we talked briefly about the basketball team. What are you doing on that front?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate enough that I get to do broadcast work study up at school.
Okay.
And so, William Jewell, as part of the Great Lakes Valley Conference, the GLVC, each school has their own chapter of the sports network that they run. And so I get to be part of the on-air talent for that. And mainly the reason I do basketball is because, with being on the golf team, we're in season for a lot of football and baseball. And so basketball just kind of happens to be the time of the year that I'm the most free. But I do color analysis for them. And so my broadcast partner, Gray Paholke, who we had on the radio show, is the guy that I do that with. And he's been with the university full time for the last year and a half as a fellow aspiring broadcaster. And so it's really cool because, we're both kind of young guys who really want to see how far we can go in this business. And so we do a lot of that. And that's been really cool experience because in addition to, it's a full-fledged broadcast. We've got a couple minutes of pregame that we like to do and standing in front of the camera with the microphone like you would see on a professional broadcast. And yeah, and then we just get to do a lot of play-by-play work. Like I said, I do color, post-game interviews, post-game wrap-ups, things like
Right.
that. They're a lot of fun, and then I get to do football and baseball as I'm available.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's nice. You have that
as
like flexibility.
Yeah, and so they understand. A lot of athletes at Jewel, so they understand that I'm not always 100% available, but I
Mm-hmm.
get to do that as often as I can, and so it's really cool because one of the other things that I get excited about is, you know, I'm fortunate that I get to golf at the college level, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm not tour material, and
Why do you say
I'm
that?
perfectly okay admitting that.
Okay.
Oh, what? Come
That's
on
fine.
now.
I am perfectly content playing member guests and charity scrambles the rest of my
Hey,
life out of
it's better
school.
than
You're
I will
gonna
ever
win
do.
every single one. That's for
Yeah.
dang sure.
I've
That's for
got a
dang
couple
sure.
offers once I become corporate eligible, corporate scramble
Yeah.
eligible
All right.
Oh
All
my
to
right.
join
Maybe
some teams. So
maybe that'll be your
that could be my
Th-
in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But I say that to make my point that, it's really cool because golf is one of my passions, but so are sports, and
Mhm.
Right.
specifically local sports. So I kind of get to do this immediate transition of passions here
Mm-hmm.
to, once I don't get the opportunity to play golf at the collegiate level anymore and compete in tournaments,
Right.
I get to shift directly to trying to see if I can make a career in broadcast journalism. And so I
Exactly.
think that's really cool. And I think a lot of the skills and the passion that I have for playing golf are going to translate directly to that. And so
That'll be
that's another
perfect.
reason why I think it's really cool. And I think I have that going for
That's
me.
what we were kind of talking about last episode with Jack. He was saying, how do you go from doing like playing sports, playing basketball to doing broadcast?
Right.
He was telling us the struggle of like picking and choosing and do I want to do this and that decision. So did you have that moment of like, man, I really want to play college sports, but I really love broadcasting?
Yeah, and that's something that I've wrestled with before.
Mhm.
Not as much recently, because I feel like for the limited schedule I have, I feel like I get plenty of opportunities
Yeah.
to get some experience, and you're always balancing. So I try to be really ambitious in the amount of work that I take on, without overwhelming myself or
Fair
sacrificing my
enough.
golf game. But I actually did almost. I thought about transferring to Mizzou
Oh wow.
after my freshman
Really?
year, because I went away to school for a year. I haven't always been at Jewel.
Okay.
I went to Kansas Wesleyan in
Okay.
Salina and played
Cool.
NAIA ball there for a year.
Nice.
But that idea was really compelling to me. Just going to school and studying broadcast journalism.
Right.
But I, you get one chance to play college sports,
Exactly.
and
You'll always
you
have your
know
career ahead of you. One
exactly.
chance to be a college athlete. That's
Exactly,
for
and so
sure.
that's something that really stuck with me, and it's one of the best decisions I ever made was going to Jewel,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really fortunate that I get the best of both worlds,
Mhm.
and, I might not get some of the experience that big state school students have right now, but I still feel like, I talked about this with Gray a little bit when he was on our show. Small schools come with their own unique opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as easy at maybe a Mizzou or a Kansas to just walk up to the SID and go, can I hop on a broadcast for this game tonight or this game
See, I
tonight?
tell you the
It's a
opposite.
process. It's a lot easier to just, I got my start. I found our athletics communication
Mm-hmm.
chair, Jalen Ellison. I said, "Hey, I'm interested in broadcasting
Yeah.
games. Could you guys get me on?" She said, "Yeah, you can start here. We've got these dates and go from there." And
Yeah.
it's that easy.
It's all about the approach. It's all about showing yourself or showing people that you are caring. And if you're showing that, you're putting in the work and you're doing that, all the other extra stuff, I mean, you're gonna be one of the top candidates that people ask for. So as long as you're doing that, then you're chilling.
Yeah, and that's why, the older I got, the more I kind of realized big school or small school, if I present myself well to the
Yeah.
right people, the opportunities come.
Right. Like KU, it's like, well, which one gets more reps? Which one, even if it might not
Mhm.
sound as fancy, which one are you actually learning more from? And I
Right.
bet you get to wear a lot of hats. And
It's like, they kind of say like with athletics, the way I like to look at it is, in the NFL or the NBA, it doesn't matter what school you went to. If you can play, you can play. If you put yourself out there and you work hard, the opportunities are going to present themselves, whether that's athletics or whether that's something like broadcast. If you show a genuine interest and willingness to improve, then that on its own, I feel like has led me to an abundance of connections. And so I'm really fortunate that I get to do both of them. And, I wouldn't have the chance to do that at a Mizzou.
Right. Well, you touched a little bit on your scheduling and everything. What does being a college golfer look like? How does that start? How I don't know anything about golf.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not a college athlete.
Yeah, exactly.
What does that look like? How did you get into that? I mean, we were fortunate enough to meet one of your mentors, just coincidentally. I think we told you this.
Yeah.
And he seemed to love you. How do you get coaches like that on an individual level sport like golf?
So do you want me to first of all, shout out Coach JR, John Richmond,
awesome.
Uncle Johnny.
Yep.
His nephew
Uncle
plays
Johnny?
at Jewell. His nephew is from Houston.
Okay.
My teammate Cade, and that is his uncle. So that is my nickname for him is Uncle Johnny.
That's so funny.
He was so funny. So when we met him,
he's hilarious. Dry sense of humor, just hilarious guy.
Well, we were working a golf tournament, and he came up to us and he was like, "Yeah, we've won this tournament the past 4 years, and every time we win."
Yeah, I would believe it too. Once he got up to the tee box and swung that thing.
Hold on. So he was like, every time we win, the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, so you better hope we win. And I was like, okay, like this. And they have these cheesy shirts on, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna think about this. What the other 3 guys in his group? It's a scramble. Golf before him, and they all it's
slice.
It's so bad.
It's
slice so bad. All
the
the balls are probably out of play. They're the worst hits I've ever seen. And we were looking at each other no way they win this tournament.
Yeah.
And he hits it we both, I think, jaw hit the floor.
I said, yep.
Easy to see who the ringer is in that.
Yeah. And then we were now we see why he is a college golf coach or trainer or whatever he is.
He piped that thing 300 yards, dead center, and I was like, "Yep, that was the line." And he's like, "I know," and walks to the golf cart. I was like, "Okay, yep, move along."
Yeah, that sounds about right for Coach John.
Yeah. So college golfer.
Yes.
What is it? What's the process like? How do you do that?
So, in my level, Division II, it's really easy to see all the top guys, all the elite prospects, and the coaches are the ones after them. And it's a little bit different when you get to some of the lower levels. It really is equal parts you contacting the coach and then the coach getting back to you.
Wow.
And so
that's an interesting
process. When I was still in high school, I had a couple of coaches reach out to me, but a lot of it was me reaching out to coaches. And that's kind of how you get the conversation going.
Do you know if that's for bigger schools too, or do they have to contact it? Because that's such an interest. It's not like football to where you're having a coach come to you.
Right.
You're going to the coach,
and you don't have you don't put film out or anything like that.
Right. I mean, it's golf.
Playing golf. I put together a recruiting video.
Okay.
And you send it out, and a lot of kids do the same thing. But it's a lot different because there's so many different things about college golf that there's so many programs. There's all in different places. A KU has their eyes on kids in 8th and 9th grade.
Right.
And a school like William Jewell, who's still a really good program, just not a Power 5 kind of program. Their window I feel like is a little more short term. Where teams like KU are looking to build their programs out years and years, and so programs are in different spots. But when I first emailed William Jewell as a senior, I was a class of 21. COVID's still going on. And that actually made it really difficult for athletes in my class because, scholarship money was still tied up in kids who might be coming back an extra year or taking an extra year of eligibility. So at first, Jewell just kind of told me that any opportunities I would have to be on their team would be as a walk-on. And so that's when I started looking elsewhere. But then I found Kansas Wesleyan through my recruiter, And so that's another thing that athletes can do is we hired a recruiter, somebody who was a former college coach who had connections with, dozens and dozens of schools. And that's the way that you first kind of make that connection.
Okay.
And so that's how Kansas Wesleyan reached out to me. And, from then you start to figure out what does it look like to schedule a visit. And then you kind of make your commitment from there. So
what did your parents think when you were like, I'm going to pursue this? I want to be a college athlete. Like, were they fully supportive of it? What level did they kind of expect from you?
Yeah, no, they were all for it. I have parents who are very supportive of everything that I do, which is, I'm very appreciative for that. But, I kind of went through high school kind of assuming that I would end up one. And it was just a
Really?
matter of where, because, and that's not to say like I was really good and I was like, oh, I'm going to be a top college athlete somewhere.
Hype yourself up.
But it was like, I was doing all these lessons and I would spend so much time practicing. I was like, I have to play in college, right? I mean, what's the point if I don't?
Fair enough.
I feel like as much as I was trying to get ready for high school golf, I was also kind of preparing for what was going to be beyond that.
Would you ever
And
look
so I
into...
kind of just took it for granted that I was going to end up in college. I didn't really see any other path for me, which is kind of weird.
So interesting.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's just kind of how I saw it.
You saw it and you believed it.
Put your mind to it, yeah.
I guess without really ever acknowledging it. I just kind of saw it as something that was in the cards for me.
Okay.
Fair enough. Well, I know we are starting to run out on time here. Before we let you go,
oh yeah, we got to hit them with the quick questions.
we got to hit you with some quick questions.
All right.
So you can take this as either as an athlete or as like a broadcaster. Either way you want to.
Perfect.
Okay. So just first instinct, whatever happens, happens. Who's your least favorite team?
Kansas.
Thank you. Now I can do the push on your face now. Well, in the edit, I'm just gonna go right up to your face. Yep.
Can't do Kansas.
Me.
I come from a line of Mizzou fans. I'm also I hate the Cincinnati Bengals too.
Okay, yeah,
So
that's everything we can agree
that
on.
That might be a more appropriate
How's
answer.
Burrowhead looking? Looking pretty good to me.
His hair's interesting. Okay, what's the game day meal?
Ooh, game day meal.
Yep.
It depends because you could tee off in the morning.
Right.
You could tee
your
off
favorite, your go-to. This is gonna
afternoon.
make
Is it a
my
sausage biscuit?
day is
Yeah.
perfect.
So
An egg biscuit.
the breakfast tacos at Quick Trip are pretty solid.
Okay.
So like Saturday mornings with my family.
Breakfast
My dad and my
tacos?
grandpa play.
Oh, you guys do little family golf trips? That's
We
adorable.
just like Saturday foursomes.
Right.
Like my brother will play.
My brother
we
and
go
I
outside.
are starting to get into golf, and we want to.
Yeah.
But my dad is a 2 handicap, and my brother and I shoot double bogey, double par, double whatever we're supposed to.
Double bogey.
So
Yeah.
we're
Double anything in golf is probably
bad.
Probably want to work on that a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. I'm new,
Just
but
Hold on.
comparatively to my dad, sorry.
They have breakfast tacos at Quick Trip.
I know I was also on the same thing.
They have those.
I didn't know this.
Quick
Oh,
Trip
yeah.
is just boosted. I'm about to go there right now. I'm
Is
so
it Easton
hungry.
I eat Quick
bacon,
Trip
egg, and
for
cheese
lunch?
breakfast tacos. Quick Trip.
They have sausage ones.
That's
I
a
think so. I know they have like
aggressive.
chorizo.
Okay.
That's
we're
aggressive.
we're asking the real questions here. This is what we actually care
The hard
about.
hitters.
Yeah. All right. What is your biggest superstition? Are you a superstitious guy?
Yeah. I don't know about superstitious. I'm a little stitious.
A little stitious?
How you approach the tee box.
Michael Scott quote.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, so the big one I had in high school that my coach told me was that so like you've got your club head covers.
Right.
And I remember one day I put it on my golf bag, took it off my club, and it fell on the ground. And I like hit one in the weeds or something. And coach goes, it's because your club head cover fell, right? I said,
so
no.
that's why I'm terrible at golf, because my golf club.
Yeah.
That's
so
why.
anytime
That's why.
my excuse from
Gotcha.
now on.
anytime I take my club head cover off, I make sure it stays in the bag because you show the club head cover love, the club shows you love back.